us know if you have comments on this. And you're joining us for the Asian Council of Science Editors joint webinar with the team from Reviewer Credits, our perceptions of peer review, the different forms of it and its value in the academic community. It should improve a paper. It should be a positive process. It should help to advance the field. But if you're thinking about how you can get involved in the peer review process, that's what we're here to help you with today. Why is it a good thing to get involved in peer review? Many people feel that it's their obligation as a researcher to do peer review, but why would you want to get involved? Well, there are a number of reasons for this and a number of things that we can do to help you understand and be more effective at doing peer review. So if you're thinking of accepting an invitation from a journal, and don't forget that you can sign up as a reviewer on the Reviewer Credits platform. Don't forget that you Don't forget that you can sign up as a reviewer on the Reviewer Credits platform. And then when you get incoming peer review requests from our participating journals, you'll know that those peer review requests are genuine. Language can be one issue for colleagues performing peer review. Secondly, knowing that the peer review incoming requests that you might get are actually genuine is the second. And in those two areas, especially the second, we can really help you at Reviewer Credits. This is a bit of a checklist. If you get asked to perform peer review by a journal, what should you be checking for? Hypotheses, are they relevant? Is the methodology appropriate? Is the data complete? What about the data analysis? And are the conclusions valid? So do keep these checklists in mind if you are asked by a journal to perform peer review. And from the perspective of an editor, and we do have very many editors joining us for our event today, I'm sure, we talk to editors, we ask them what makes a good peer reviewer from their perspective. Well, it's going to be somebody who does a comprehensive job, submits the report on time, provides well-founded, useful, positive comments for authors, gives constructive criticism, demonstrates objectivity, and as well a clear recommendation to the editor. So if you're thinking, will I accept a peer review request from a journal? Well, first thing to do, sign up on Reviewer Credits so that you know that that peer review request coming from a journal is genuine. It's going to be beneficial to your career, both as a researcher and a peer reviewer. And have a look at the checklists that we're presenting in this event today in order to help you do a quick, effective, and hopefully more positive and balanced job in peer review. So, you've been asked to perform a peer review. Here's a few quick things to consider that many researchers, many peer reviewers don't think about. They might just click on the accept button or the I don't have time. They might just click on the reject button. But do you have any conflicts of interest? Do you know the authors? Have you worked with them recently? These are important considerations to keep in mind before accepting a peer review from a journal. Is this your field? Do you have the relevant expertise in this particular subject area to do a fair, positive, and balanced job? And thirdly, as I already mentioned, do you have the time really to do a good job? Because doing a bad job or a slightly less than great job as a peer reviewer can actually have a negative impact both on the author's research and on your relationship with that journal if you don't do the best that you could do. So, things to consider before you accept an invitation, an opportunity to perform peer review from a journal. The key point here, and we at Reviewer Credits think that this is often missed by both journals and reviewers, is that this process should help your career as a researcher, as a peer reviewer. So accepting requests to peer review, it's important because it's going to help you maximize your career potential. So as an author, you're going to have the opportunity in peer review to enhance your article's chances of acceptance. Let's hope. And if you do this by effectively responding to the comments that you get, then your paper should more smoothly pass into the journal workflow. And as a reviewer, the focus of our event today, we're going to ask you to please others and view this as a transferable skill as you perform peer review as a reviewer. So understanding the process as an author versus a reviewer, it's really important to think about the differences. View this as a potentially positive career development opportunity, and do get in touch with us if we can provide any support, because we do understand that being asked by a journal to act as a peer reviewer, especially if English is not your first language, this can be a very daunting and a little bit scary experience. So you're doing a peer review, you're in there, you're in the paper, you've decided that you're going to accept this opportunity. Let's look at those checklists. Let's think about how we can help the authors to enhance their study and get it up to standard for publication. Let's think about the strengths of the article, the research, rather than just the weaknesses. Are the paper's claims supported by appropriate evidence? Is the main point or takeaway of the paper clearly articulated? What about the relevance and significance of the research? Clearly explained? And are there potential counter arguments or objections that are acknowledged and addressed? These are positive things that you can do, you can talk about, you can write about to help researchers get their work up to standard for potential publication in a journal. And in our experience, really, many peer reviewers, when they get a paper to review, they do tend to think, how can I knock this down? How can I come up with problems? How can I find a way so that this doesn't get published? And that's really not the mindset that we want to encourage at Reviewer Credits, working with our good friends at the Asian Council of Science Editors to help both researchers and peer reviewers have a positive experience throughout this process. You will also, and I really can't emphasize this enough in this event, gain transferable skills that can be applied in other fields, in other lines of work. Let's say you leave academia, go off and work in another area. You will gain a great deal from the peer review process, refining your research skills, enhancing those problem-solving abilities, improving decision-making, and just becoming more curious about the world around you, about research all around you. I often think of an analogy. If you're working in a business perspective, or let's say for a company completely removed from your current research work, and your boss comes along and gives you a document to comment on, that's also going to be a kind of peer review. How you do that, do you do it positively or do you do it negatively, will have a knock-on effect on your future career. It's important to be positive for everybody. In the peer review process, you are going to make a number of positive contributions, as we show here on this slide, things to do and things not to do when putting together a review report. I won't read it out, but I hope that when you look at this recording, and we of course will make sure that everybody gets access to all of the slides and this recording at the end of the event, we hope that much of this content will be helpful when you do have to do a peer review for a journal in the future. Meaningful bias, being impartial. If you see negative results in a research article, do encourage researchers to keep them in. Often authors want to take out their negative results. Often reviewers encourage authors to take out their negative results. But this is another positive thing that you can do to make a difference to the scholarly record. Make sure that these pieces of negative information stay in the paper so that people in the future, researchers in the future, will not make the same mistakes that these authors potentially have made. And with that, what I'm going to do is just quickly stop sharing so that my colleague Catherine can grab control of this platform. Whoop, and just continue, because now Catherine's going to talk a little bit about reviewer credits, how we help, and how you can get recognized and rewarded for the work that you do in peer review. Catherine.
Yeah, thanks, Gareth. So we've seen with Gareth's presentation how you become a peer reviewer, how you can peer review, how you can be a good peer reviewer. And that's all very well, but also we're also looking for recognition of this really, really valuable work that you are doing in terms of peer review. So I'm going to take just a few minutes to show you some examples of how you can get recognition for the work you're doing. And this can take place on several levels. So for example, using formal recognition platforms and services. You may well all be familiar with all of these, but I'd like to just touch on them briefly anyway, because there may be some that you're not familiar with. So for example, using the Web of Science Reviewer Recognition Service, which in a former life was known as Publons, as you may be familiar with, where you can record, verify, and showcase your peer reviews. Obviously, you can also use your ORCID profile, and this really does help you to give you much greater visibility. Obviously, on your ORCID profile, you'll probably already showcase your publications, your articles, but why not also include peer review work that you've done? And also now, increasingly, the journal management systems are also offering a direct integration from the journal system straight into your ORCID profile. Also on a journal level, a publisher level, more and more are offering certificates. We have here an example from a journal from Wiley. And obviously this is great, but at the same time, you'll have to get a certificate from every journal or every publisher that you work with. And you could also try to get acknowledged in maybe special issues of journals. A lot of journals list, whether it's annually or in a special issue, they list the names of their reviewers. They want to formally thank their reviewers and give them the recognition they deserve. We also recommend, wherever possible, try and ensure that you're mentioned in the article, the finished article, as a reviewer, not just where the authors are listed. This obviously is especially the case with open peer review. And alongside recognition, there's also the topic of rewarding. And some publishers now will also offer an incentive for peer review, maybe an incentive for a timely peer review, maybe in the form of a discount on an APC, free access to content for a certain time period, and maybe also free or discounted books from the publisher. Then looking on a professional development and community engagement level, there are options, for example, to join reviewer recognition platforms. And at the end of this presentation, we'll come on to a specific example with reviewer credits, where you can build your own public profile, document all of your review history, and also collect certificates. So on the one hand, platforms such as reviewer credits really help you as a reviewer to become recognized. But at the same time, by being involved, it also means that journal editors, for example, are more likely to find you, to realize that you have expertise in a certain field, and invite you to peer review for a new manuscript. And that is especially the case if you're starting out early on in your career. We would strongly also recommend that you participate in peer review training. Obviously, what we're talking about today is useful, but it's fairly quick, it's fairly general, but there are courses available, for example, with our friends at SciTrain. Here you can take part in training programs, usually online, and obtain a certification at the end, which again, you can make part of your academic record and share with your peers. Another way of getting recognized would be to participate in post-publication platforms like PubMed Commons or F1000 Research. Again, just making your contribution visible to the research community and building your reputation as a quality reviewer. And another option here, an example from the Royal Society of Chemistry. Some journals, some publishers like to publish lists of the top reviewers, maybe annually on their website, listing those reviewers who especially provide quality, timely reviews, so are obviously doing a very good job in terms of peer review. And then the information on this slide may well appear self-explanatory, but not everyone's doing it. So we would really encourage you to promote yourself, not just as a researcher, but also as a reviewer. Mention what you're doing on your CV. Use LinkedIn, a really, really good way of networking and making yourself more visible. ORCID, we've talked about other professional profiles as well. Also, especially for early career researchers, use your network. Talk to your more senior colleagues. Researchers who've been around a bit longer probably tend to get asked a lot to review simply because their name is known. Talk to your senior colleagues, ask them to recommend you to their journals, their publishers, who will then vouch for you, and then maybe you'll get new opportunities that way. Conferences, obviously, a good way to network, but also academic networks, ResearchGate being a prime example. So all of these together, if you can practice them, promote yourself, increase your recognition and visibility, also increase your chances of being invited to review, and therefore, again, being more recognized for your expertise. So that was the look generally, and now I'm just going to take a few minutes, just checking the watch, to look specifically at how reviewer credits can help you build a credible reviewer profile, as Gareth mentioned earlier on in the presentation. So we would encourage you, and we'll include the link at the end and probably in the chat, which Gareth can do, some links where you can register for free on reviewer credits as a reviewer, but also as an editor or as a publisher. And looking, first of all, from the reviewer perspective, signing up to reviewer credits, creating your own profile as a reviewer means that you'll join a community of many thousands of researchers worldwide who are showcasing their own peer review activity, but also showing that they're available for peer review. So being on reviewer credits is a really good way of getting recognition for your peer review work. It's also completely for free. And for example, we mentioned certificates earlier, journal certificates, publisher certificates. The advantage of a reviewer credit certificate is it's cross-publisher, cross-media. It brings together a summary of all of the review work that you've done that's been uploaded to the platform, whether it's in a book, a journal, at a conference, and you can download and share your own certificate. There's a button that links straight through to LinkedIn, for example, and we encourage you then to share your certificates and make your peer review contribution part of your academic record. Also being on reviewer credits means that you will be invited to review manuscripts within your field of research. A survey we did a while ago showed that one of the key pain points of reviewers, researchers, is that they're asked too many times to review manuscripts that are not in their field. Really annoying. By being on reviewer credits with your own researcher profile, that means that you will only be invited to review manuscripts that are actually your own field. Also, alongside recognition, I mentioned rewards just now. We have a system on reviewer credits where you can receive rewards in the form of credits for your peer review work. These are tangible rewards that you can redeem, for example, against author publishing services. And in some cases, depending on the publisher or the journal, possibly even monetary awards. So just to show you how you would start building a credible reviewer profile, again, using the example of reviewer credits. Very easy, it takes just a few minutes to set up your profile. This is just a test of myself here. We need some key information that you can see down here, but alongside the key information, you decide what data is made available in your public profile. And most important are certain parameters that you can set. I mentioned just now that a lot of reviewers are annoyed because they're contacted about manuscripts not in their field of research. Well, using a credible profile and making sure that you fill in these fields means you can add your primary research topic, you can add keywords, additional topics if you wish, and also your academic status. That means that when a journal is using the reviewer credits tool to look for matching reviewers, they will only contact you if your profile includes some of these keywords or the primary research topic. Also, most important, if you remember, Gareth asked or suggested that you always check when considering accepting a peer review request, do you have the time? And here we give you a tool to say that yes, in this case, you are available for peer review. So if I go back to my test here, you can see the green button, and that means anyone can see immediately that this reviewer is available for peer review. I'm going on holiday next week. I probably don't want to be approached about reviewing when I'm on holiday. I can then update my profile. I will set myself to no. And that means that going back, instead of a green button, there'll be a red button. And that means not only visibly am I not available for peer review, I also, during that time, will not show up on any peer review request lists. So I will be left in peace to enjoy my holiday. When I come back, I can update my profile again and say that I'm available for peer review. And also, as we wish to respect the wishes of the reviewers on our platform, most important, how many reviews per month would you like to do? In my case, 4. That means if I have been contacted 4 times during a calendar month, I won't be contacted a 5th time. This is the platform respecting my wishes, and once I've been contacted 4 times, even if I were to be an exact match for a new manuscript, I still won't be contacted unless it's into the next calendar month. So using the profile in this way, providing information about yourself as a researcher and as a reviewer, means that you're only contacted when you're available and only on topics relevant to your own field of expertise. So here you can see the links. We will be sharing this afterwards, so you will get the presentation with the links. I'm not looking at the chat, but I'm sure Gareth has been adding them as well. Here you can sign up as a reviewer or as an editor or as a publisher. All 3 are completely free of charge, at least initially. As publishers and journals, we offer a premium later down the process, but for reviewers, everything is and remains for free. As soon as you're registered, you can start enjoying the benefits of the platform. If you're a reviewer, you can start uploading your reviews and downloading, for example, your reviewer certificates. You can also find information on our website, also follow us on LinkedIn and Blue Sky, and obviously our partners at ACSE also are available to help you and to give you information whenever you need it. And we will close then the presentation part by giving you a very special offer just for participants of this webinar today. We've mentioned several times how important it is to be trained, and Reviewer Credits in partnership with SciTrain offers a really wonderful power-up course for peer reviewers that here my wonderful colleague Gareth is hosts. So it's online, it's very intuitive. It's a lot of fun. It's on demand, so you can do it anytime you wish. And we're offering 50% off until the end of August. Use the code here, RCSummer50, when you go to purchase the seat for the webinar and for the training. And at the end, you even get a certificate, which again, you can share and make part of your academic record. And with that, we come to the end of the presentation part. So thank you, first of all, from both of us for your attention. I can see the whole time things coming into the chat, so I'm sure we've got lots of questions. So Mariam, first of all, over to you, and I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Dr. Dyke and Catherine, for such a rich and practical discussion on peer review training part. So without further ado, let's move towards the Q&A. From the participants, if you have any sort of question, please put in the chat box. If anyone would like to go with live questions, we would be happy to hear the questions or suggestions from your side. Any questions from the participants? Please raise your hand for the questions. We are now taking questions for this webinar. If you have any question, any suggestion, please raise your hand to move forward. All right, for this time, let me take one of our pre-submitted questions from our members. Gareth, this question is for you. In your global training work, what are some of the most common mistakes that early career reviewers make, and how can they avoid them?
Wow, that's a great question. Thank you. And thank you again, Mariam, and for the opportunity to do this. Yeah, the most common mistakes that early career researchers make, I would say, rushing a peer review, maybe accepting a peer review that's a little bit out of your subject area because you get kind of overwhelmed by the honor, if you like, of getting an invitation from a journal. So you just get kind of caught up in the moment and you take on a peer review when perhaps it's a little bit outside your subject area, or you may not have the time, as we talked about, Catherine and I, like the different things to think about before you start doing a peer review. So most importantly, make sure that this really is a request that you're able to honor, that this really is something that falls within your own research area, and that you do have enough time, because it always takes a lot longer than you might think. And I see like a number of comments in the chat about how much it costs to publish a paper. People do peer review as a service to publishers. They do that for free. So our colleague Dr. Abdallah is asking as well, like this is kind of a double-edged sword for researchers. You, on the one hand, have to pay to get your work published, and on the other hand, you're being expected to peer review for free. So yeah, that's why really, Dr. Abdallah, like reviewer credits exist, because we're a platform that kind of enables you to both get rewarded for the work that you do and get, access to decent peer review requests. So thank you, Mariam.
Perfect. So we will take one next question on here. Lahore Hin, what's your question?
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Mariam. I'm Livo from Cambodia, and I would like to say thank you to Gareth and Catherine. It's my pleasure to join this formal training for the first time. I have served as a reviewer for several years, and my question is related to the degree. I'm a doctor, and I got a doctor degree in Cambodia. I studied in Cambodia, in Asia, and I just want to get my expertise recognized worldwide as well. So if my degree is in Cambodia, can I become an international reviewer for papers published in other countries or not? That's my question. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Let's pass that to Catherine, because you're in Cambodia, you're working there. Can you be a reviewer for international journals?
Yes. I just want to ask this question. Thank you so much, Gareth.
As far as I could see, there would be absolutely no reason why not. You're an academic, you've got your degree, you're doing your research exactly the same as any other country. So please don't feel shy. Peer review is international, and I think that's one of the things that really struck me when I joined Reviewer Credits a year ago. Is our database is full of people from all over the world, and the variety of names I see, it's incredible. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. You know that what you say inspires me a lot, and I heard you mention the training, and you provide also 50% discount. So can you share with us the full tuition fee for that training? Thank you. That's all from me. My pleasure.
Dr. Hin, we have an interesting question in chat. Should we edit language while reviewing the article?
That's not your responsibility as a reviewer. Like if you see issues with the language, then you should flag those back to the editor and don't waste your time and energy editing the paper for the authors. That's something that should be done at the editorial office or indeed by the authors themselves. But that actually is a great question because that's the most common thing that reviewers do when they get papers to review. They spend ages like working on the English or whichever. So, but that is not your role as a reviewer. So do flag that back to the editor if you think there's an understanding problem. Yeah, and don't forget to register as a reviewer on Reviewer Credits. Let me give you the link again if you haven't done so. Takes a moment, a mere moment. You can sign up as a reviewer and join our community.
All right, so another question that goes with Catherine. I have been associated with many journals as a reviewer. How can I get recognition for all of them on one platform? Will Reviewer Credits be the right one once I create my profile?
I would say yes. So you have the opportunity to upload the review data of all of the reviews you've done. By the way, we don't ever actually need the review itself. We just need manuscript ID, journal name, date. That's enough. And if you can upload all of those, and we generally say from the last 3 years, then you can show all of those on your certificate. The certificate is organized by year. So you will have a complete record of everything that you've uploaded. You just have to do the work first to upload the data. But there's a CSV file template on the profile, so use that, and then you can upload your data.
All right. Another question live from Abdul Karim. Yes, Dr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mariam. I am from Bangladesh, in the Abdul Karim. I need to ask a simple question to Catherine Anderson. When the peer review reviewers, what kind of mistakes are generally taken by the reviewers?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I heard the first part. But
what kind of mistakes are taken generally by the reviewers to review a peer review journals?
I'm still not entirely sure what the question is. Mariam, are you able to help me?
What kind of mistakes do usually reviewers do in taking the review?
Sorry, yes. Gareth, I'm actually going to pass that one over to you then, because that's more your field of expertise.
Sure, yeah. Thanks for the question, Dr. Karim. If you're talking about the mistakes that peer reviewers make when they take on articles to review, like I would say again that has to do with taking on research articles that are outside of your own research area and, not having the time to do a good job. Because as a journal editor, I can assure you that it's much better to turn down a peer review request than do a very, very short job or just say like this paper's great, like publish it as it is. Those kinds of comments that we get back from reviewers are not really great. They're not giving us any information to pass on to the authors to help the authors improve the article. When you're looking at this in terms of the content of the research paper that you're reviewing, like I would focus, as we talked about in the presentation, on helping authors to improve and the method section, because if it's an STM paper, it's the method section where you'll need to focus most of your attention as a peer reviewer. I hope that answers your question. I also struggle a little bit to hear you, so maybe you could jump back in and just follow up.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving forward to the next. This is something more interesting. I have heard like journals struggle to find reviewer, but there's one question in chat that how do we approach the international journals to be a reviewer?
That's a really good question. And well, the first thing to say about that is please do approach journals in your field to become a reviewer. They would love to hear from you, as Catherine will mention in a moment. Probably the biggest issue that journals around the world, irrespective of country, irrespective of language, irrespective of subject, they struggle to find willing peer reviewers. So do reach out. Please get in touch with your journals in your area. They would especially like to hear from you if you're a younger researcher because they want to help. Journals often have training programs, just like our training program at Reviewer Credits, to give you that experience. So get in touch with editors. Catherine, it's a big problem, right? Finding peer reviewers for articles.
It's whenever I ask the question, and I talk to a lot of journals, a lot of publishers, big and small around the world, you ask what the main problem is, and I guarantee 99% will say the main problem is finding peer reviewers, finding willing peer reviewers, and willing peer reviewers who have the time and will submit quality review. So yes, it's a universal problem, and so I can only repeat what Gareth said. Get in contact with them. Be proactive yourselves. And as again, I have to sell a little bit our platform here. We at Reviewer Credits have also recognized this problem. So we're working on a new feature to be released where you as reviewers can follow a journal on the platform. That means that we can then also report back to a journal to say, look, in the last 4 weeks or so, so and so many reviewers or have contacted us to say we're interested in reviewing for the journal, and here are the contact details. So bringing things the other way as well, not just journals looking for reviewers, but also reviewers wanting to contact the journals.
Thank you, Catherine. Another question, again, going for the reviewer credit. Some of the person in chat box, reviewer credit is great. I'm really happy to be on the platform. Just a query for the titles on the personal profile. There is no Mr. or MS there, so I had to select my title as LLB because no other title matches me. I do not have a PhD or professor, so I cannot use these. On my reviewer certificate, it then says LLB Warren Bowles, which is a strange. So can the titles perhaps be updated?
Yeah, I saw that one myself and I've noted it down. That's a really good point. We've obviously overlooked that. So yes, our tech lead, Emma, is on this call. So I'm sure he's writing this down at this point, and I'm sure it'll be a very easy thing to change. But yeah, apologies for that. I'm sure we can change.
All right, so moving forward, there is another question. If I am a recent medical graduate and have no published articles in my name, am I eligible to review an article? Is it recommended?
Yes, absolutely. But what a journal would usually do in a situation like this is pair you up with a more experienced peer reviewer. So again, absolutely, how are you going to get experience doing peer review if you don't get in touch with journals and offer your services? If you are an active researcher in this particular area, then of course, like journals, as we've mentioned, as Catherine was just saying, would love to hear from you, but they will probably pair you up with a more experienced reviewer, either so that you can learn more about the peer review process, or they'll take a review from you and another review from potentially a more experienced colleague so that they have that balance. Because actually, interestingly, research has shown, feedback has shown that younger researchers with less experience actually do a better job, more thorough job in peer review very often than their more experienced colleagues. And I mean, you can understand potentially the reasons for that. We don't need to go into it, but yeah, get in touch with the journals that you'd like to have the chance to peer review for. That's a great question. Thank you.
All right, so next one is how can I receive recognition from reviewer credits if the journal I reviewed for is not registered with their platform?
We do have a list of many journals from around the world. So the journals are listed on the platform and can be chosen. So I think I'm sure there are examples, we don't have all of them, but you can select your journal from, I think we have about 4,000 journals on the system that can be selected from. So even if the journal themselves doesn't have a profile, but of course, then if we see that there are reviews for a journal being uploaded, then we contact the journal and encourage them to take ownership of their profile, as it were.
All right, considering the time, I will go with quick questions again. Can you be a reviewer without an institutional affiliation?
Yes. Short answer. Yeah, I mean, of course, like what journals will do is they'll check first of all to verify your identity. This is very important because they don't want people to, there's been quite a lot of abuse of the system over the years, but absolutely, like they'll just look at your track record as a researcher, where you worked most recently, and if you're still actively publishing and doing research, then there's no reason why you can't be a peer reviewer.
All right, there's one interesting question. What do you think of not assigning some fee to the reviewers before a review? Because to my best understanding, this is also a mistake. If a reviewer will be paid, he will take time to offer a good job rather than not expecting anything. Many cost implications are involved in the review process in the part of reviews, time, date, etc. How would you like to comment on that?
Gareth, will you take that one? You're muted.
I was going to say, Catherine, do you want to comment on that? I mean, I can, of course, if you like. It's yeah, like actually, I'll just quickly say that just avoiding the issue of paying for peer review from a publisher's perspective, like we don't want to get into that. But actually, the work we've done and others have done has shown that researchers would actually rather not get paid for peer review. They'd rather get recognition for the work that they do. Catherine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so next one is to gain more credibility and universal coverage. Reviewer credit should have synchronization like it has with ORCID, with Clarivate, Web of Science, Open Science, and other reviewer registration platforms. How to?
Okay, noted.
Oh,
I can't say anything myself on that. It's a bit more technical, but we've noted that one. And by the way, Emra is so quick in the background. So Warren, I'm not sure if you're still on the call. He's already added the Mr. and Mrs. Fields. So
all right.
we can be
That's great.
Other interesting.
Live updates to the Reviewer Credits platform in a webinar. That's absolutely fantastic. I mean, one thing that's important to note about Reviewer Credits is that we are not affiliated with any publisher. We are independent from publishers. We have partnerships with organizations like our friends at the Asian Council of Science Editors, probably one of our, if not our major like industry partnership. But you talk about tying up with Clarivate, with Publons, with all of these other platforms. These are owned by the major publishers. So something that we try to do is to be independent of publishers. The journals that we work with come from a huge number of different publishers from different regions using different platforms. So signing up with us actually is an advantage potentially because you're not tying yourself to information from a major publisher. Catherine?
All right, so there's another interesting question. How to be listed as reviewer in the website editorial board? We only receive emails, but not listed officially. So is it another part of recognition to reviewers? How do you see it, Gareth?
That's another platform question, so I'm going to pass that to Catherine if that's okay with you, Mariam.
Yeah, again, I guess it just depends on each journal and how the journal works. So it's all a bit of a process in development. So in conversation, we we can report to reviewers what journals are telling us, but equally we can report back to journals what the reviewers are telling us. So that would be certainly a wish. And it's, again, publishers are complaining, or journals are complaining that they find it difficult to find reviewers. Well, for them as well, recognition is actually such an easy thing for them to do, and not enough of them still are taking this easy step. So in conversation, we certainly recommend to them that that would be a really good way of showing recognition. Include reviewers in the academic record, in the lists, alongside the authors on a manuscript, for example.
Right. I guess the issue related to Mr. NMS, it's successfully been updated on Reviewer Credits website, so feel free to try. Moving next, we have more of a suggestion. I would say peer reviewer metrics or reviewer credit should include graphical representation of reviewers' output on weekly/monthly basis. I would say it's a suggestion that reviewer credit team would take on for that. All right.
If I speak slowly, maybe Emma can implement it before the end of the webinar. No, that's a great comment, and that's definitely something that we've thought about and will be getting. And this kind of live feedback is fantastic. So do stay in touch, everybody.
Or here, do we have any live question? Because we are left with like 3 to 4 minutes for the webinar. Would like to have 1 or 2 live questions from the audience. If anyone would have any comment, question, or suggestion, please raise your hand. All right, there is one pre-question for you, Catherine. You speak to many journals and publishers. What are the top main points they face in managing peer review? And how is reviewer credit helping to solve them?
Oh, thank you. Very good question. Yes, so the main topic that I hear from the journal and the publisher side is the issue of finding the reviewers. Many have their Excel lists that they use time and time again, so continue to invite the same researchers and are finding it difficult to find new ones. And also speed and quality are actually the two main points that certainly I'm hearing from journals, that a lot of reviews are taking too long to come in, and they're not the quality often that the journal would expect, which loops around really nicely to what we're doing here in order to improve the training for reviewers, to make you better reviewers, and that'll make the journals happier and hopefully speed up the process as well.
All right. Do we have any question or suggestion on here for now?
Can I just quickly say that we have put like all of our links, sign up, different sign up links. If you scroll back up the chat, you should see all of those, as well as the PDF of this presentation that we've used today. That's also in the chat, but I imagine you'll want to email that as well with the recording at the end, right, Mariam?
Yes, we will. And I have also added the council link to join as member for ACSE platform to have more and more insights in terms of contact, in terms of webinar series, event series, platform of in-person and virtual event and engaging platforms. So do feel free to connect with the council, and let us hope to facilitate the publishing community in Asia. My last question for you, Gareth, that solves really a pre-question from our members. You have published extensively, very, very extensively. So how has your own experience as an author shaped your expectation of peer review?
Wow, that's a great question. How has my experience as an author shaped my expectation of peer review? Well, just like everybody, I've had a range of experiences in peer review, I would say. But most of the time, the comments that I received as an author were quite negative. And there's been a lot of situations in my publishing career where the comments received in peer review were or negative. And so I would say that has helped me definitely to now that we're building training courses, and now that we're talking more and more with editors, peer reviewers, and researchers to emphasize the positive nature of all of this, and that really, if you get a paper for peer review, let's look at that and let's try to help authors, researchers improve their work, get it up to the level that you would like to see in a positive, constructive way, rather than attacking it and going after the negatives and trying to look for reasons why the paper should be rejected. So that would be my main comment on that. Most of the time, peer reviewers take the opportunity to come up with negative aspects of research articles, and let's turn that around. I think that that's really a message that we'd like to get across with training like this. So that's a great question.
All right. Thank you so much, Catherine and Gareth, for this rich and I would say practical discussion today. And I think that for next time, instead of going to the webinar part, we should go to the straight Q&A session. It was very, very informative and I think productive as well. So as we have seen that improving peer review in Asia and beyond requires both skill development and systematic change. So including how we recognize and support our reviewers. We hope that today's webinar inspires you to take the next step, whether it's becoming a better reviewer, advocating for training in your institute, or partnering with platforms to promote transparency and recognition. On behalf of the Asian Council of Science Editors and Reviewer Credits, thank you all for joining us today, and let's keep the conversation going.